In 1738, a ship full of hopeful families crossed the Atlantic and vanished into a storm off Block Island. Some say the islanders tried to help, others say they watched it burn. But ever since that winter night, people have seen the same thing rising from the sea, a ship on fire, drifting through the fog and disappearing forever. This Halloween, we're telling the true story of the Palatine Lights, the ghost ship that still burns off the coast of Rhode Island. I'm Sean.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Kathy.
And this is Weirder After Dark. So this episode is dropping on Halloween fucking week.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
We did it, y'all.
Halloween. Yep.
Yo.
Halloween.
Yep.
We are about to wrap up our first ever Weirder After Dark Halloween season, and we've had some killer episodes. We've had some aliens. We had some mad scientists.
Yes.
We had some fucking backstabbing ghostly stories.
We got spooky.
We got
Yeah,
spooky.
spooky as fuck.
I think
It's
we
been
did well.
good. We went to Salem. Hell
Which
yeah.
this is our second time as a crew going
Yep.
down to Salem, and
I had a lot of fun.
yeah.
I had a lot of fun. We had other people with us,
Yeah.
and I think it was just like a super chill, cool vibe. The whole night from start to finish was amazing. It was really good.
So I got a little weird. Okay.
What do you mean?
You got a little weird.
We took a tour.
Uh-huh.
All right. I won't name who. And they were dropping facts about Salem.
Oh, yeah.
And I was being that guy. It's like, that's not right. That's not true either. Where did this lady get her facts? Like, I want to fact check her. I
I
didn't.
run a weird podcast about New England. This is false.
Yes.
I did look at you.
I'm a
and
fucking expert.
I did look at you and go, I'm going to walk away from you now. To the other side of the group.
I really got tempted to call her out. I did not, just for the record. I did not say anything. I let her do her thing.
You rose above. You rose above.
She was great, but her facts were wrong.
I left feeling like it is more of a tourist trap than I remember it being.
Absolutely. 100%.
Like, I don't know. I remember, like, maybe I was younger and more excited. I don't know. But, like, I left being like, oh, Jesus, it's literally just a humongous fucking tourist attraction is literally all this
Yeah,
is. Like,
for sure.
I don't know.
I feel like Salem's got a vibe, but if you go that close to Halloween, it's just about how can we make as much money off of this week as we can.
We tried to go get some like group psychic readings, which I always know that psychics are always a little strange when it comes to group stuff, right? But we found a shop that was actually like, hey, we could do something. If we do a group, it's going to be a seance. So obviously we're like, a fucking seance? Let's
Seance,
fucking
I'm
go.
in. Let's
Put
do
us
it.
in. And then the guy comes out the back and was like, hey, I can't do a seance. Tonight's not the night.
Right.
And then
Right.
Kathy,
A
you
week
butted
before
back in.
Halloween,
Yeah.
that's the right night.
Yeah, Kathy butted in and goes, I think it's the perfect night. Isn't like the veil the thinnest? And then he looked at us and goes, we're only doing one-on-ones now. And I was just like, so they're just trying to make the max amount of money possible. Got it. And we would have paid good fucking money.
Yeah.
to like,
I would have been like, you want us to pay for a group rate and individual rates
Yeah.
to do us all at the same time? I'm down.
I would have been like, make ectoplasm appear and then
Yes.
take my money. Like, let's go. But
you
he did-
make that Ouija board move on its own, I'm down.
Exactly. But anyway, it was a fun night. It was a really good time. I'm glad we went down there.
The whole Pickering Wharf, it's just got this feel.
It does.
And I just enjoy it. But
Yeah.
it was way too crowded. And
It also depends on like your tour, right? I love the historic tours. I love the tours that tell me about the history and things that happen. But it's like the Ed Gein Netflix documentary that just came out, right? It's like the historical, accurate facts and lore, when it becomes so blurred, it's not actually fact-based.
Yeah.
It loses it for me, you know?
When you have, Weirder After Dark, who has 46 episodes fact-checking you as you're walking down the streets, this is a little credibility.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
A little credibility. Not that we're not, we're legit. We're legit. So,
Yeah.
if there were going to be people to fact-check. Well, following up on our spooky episodes this month, gang, we just want to take a moment to thank you all. You all have been interacting with us via email, via Reddit, via Instagram, and really popping off. And it's been so much fun being able to have a little back and forth.
our listeners are really educated about this stuff, and they're bringing us facts that were not in the stories.
Yeah.
And it's really cool.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I really
is.
enjoy it.
One of our listeners reached out, and this is what they wrote. His name's Scott, and he said, I reached out to my daughter yesterday. She taught at Dartmouth and had a habit of taking her students off campus to do field studies. Lo and behold, she did take them to the falls mentioned in the story, so I'm out Musalaki. And yes, they all heard noises that they couldn't explain, and one claimed to even have seen a shadow figure. They didn't hang around long, and when they got back to campus, that's when their colleagues told her about the mad doctor story that you all shared on the podcast. They never returned back to Mount Musalaki after that.
That's fair. I wouldn't have either.
Yeah, right. I thought that was just like such a cool firsthand encounter from one of our listeners.
Leaning into the legend, leaning into the lore before they told the story, which is just fascinating, right?
So cool. So cool.
Yeah.
And to all y'all, we also just milestone for Weirder After Dark celebration here on this Halloween week episode. We officially hit 65-star reviews last week. That's huge. So first off, gang, thank you so much. But also, if you're listening right now and loving this shit and you have not dropped a 5-star review, what are you doing? Help us out. It's the best thing that anyone can do right now to help us on our journey. Drop a 5-star review. Throw in a comment. It could say something like, I love it when Kathy takes fireball shots. She just did. I don't know if you heard it. Or it could say something just like, Chris is the most magnificent storyteller of all time. Or it could be like, that Sean guy doesn't stop fucking talking, but 5 stars anyways. Whatever it is, drop it in there. It would absolutely mean the world to us. And with that, are we ready to dive into today's episode?
I am ready.
I'm excited about this story.
All right. Well, tonight's episode is on the Palatine Lights. Have y'all heard about the Palatine Lights before?
Have not.
I have not. No, that's why I'm excited.
This is actually a story based in Rhode Island, which I think this is only our 3rd Rhode Island story.
Did the vampires?
Yeah, and then I've got the nuclear reactor one. Yeah.
I think that's
it.
Yeah.
I think now the Palatine Lights. This episode is on a ghost ship that flickers off the coast of Rhode Island. One that first appeared on record exactly 1 year after it wrecked. And it was first seen by a British captain who wrote in his captain log the following. We followed a burning ship to her watery grave, but then found no survivors, no wreckage, a vessel aflame in one moment and completely gone the next. A ghost ship ablaze and then vanishing beneath the sea. But before it was a ghost story, before fishermen claimed over and over again of seeing fire crawling across the horizon, there was a real ship, a real crew, and a real voyage across the Atlantic that was doomed before it even left the ports. And the ship was called the Princess Augusta. Our story begins in June of 1738 with hundreds of German families stacking trunks and prayers along the docks of Rotterdam, Holland. 340 German immigrants in all. Farmers, cobblers, millers, mothers with infants, every one of them chasing the fantasy of a new start, freedom in the new world. These immigrants are coming from the war-torn valleys of southwestern Germany, the Palatine region, that has been crushed by decades of conflict, famine, and economic ruin. Their towns have been buried, their land seized, and their faith completely taxed. America was their one shot, their opportunity to seize everything they ever wanted in one moment. And their destination was Pennsylvania, which of all the places to escape to, why Pennsylvania?
Paradise,
why are you going to Philadelphia?
Pennsylvania.
And at the center, at the start of this journey, stood the Princess Augusta, a 3-mast, full-rigged ship that was 100 feet long, 25 feet wide, and made of English oak. A 200-ton British merchant vessel made to lug cargo.
She's a beast.
She big. Commanding the Augustus.
She big.
She big. Commanding the Augustus was 20-year-old Captain George Long, a young man by any standard, but one raised on salt and rope under the eye of his father, a respected maritime captain himself.
So raised on salt and rope, that means that he was raised on like a ship?
He was on a ship.
He's on a ship.
You picked up that imagery real well.
I did.
He's 20 years old.
20 years old, captaining
In
a ship.
charge of this
He's a
ship
baby.
with hundreds of people trying to get across the Atlantic.
Yeah.
That is a lot of pressure. I don't think it goes well.
With 16...
Or else the story would be over.
Correct.
It's going to be a very short story.
The Augusta herself knew the route well. Just 2 years earlier, she'd made the same trip from Rotterdam to Philadelphia, delivering another wave of Palatine immigrants. And this time, the plan was identical. Sail from Rotterdam, Holland, through the English Channel, drop the Palatines off in Philadelphia, load the princess with grain and livestock, head south to the British West Indies, sell the cargo there, load up some sweet, sweet cane sugar, and then return to England with the sugar cane. A clean triangle, a tidy profit for the owners, a brand new life for the passengers. On paper, it all made sense, but nothing about the 1730s Atlantic trips were ever simple. In fact, the odds of surviving an ocean crossing hovered just above 60%, a little better than a coin flip.
Yeah, 60%. Like
I was thinking it was less than that.
I'm taking a plane ride from Boston to Seattle.
I got a 50-50 shot.
50-50 shot. I'm going to make it. I'm not getting on that plane.
I'm not getting on that fucking plane either, dude.
I got to be pretty desperate.
That's insane,
Yeah,
right?
you only live once.
That's insane. As the Princess Augusta left port, sailing south through the North Sea and out into the English Channel, the Palatines believed they'd bought a better future, a new home, a new life, and freedom. But what they really bought was a one-way ticket into weird New England history. I really love that line.
That's a great line.
Very well done.
That's a great line.
Well written, sir.
Thank you. The first stop was Cowes on the Isle of Wight, a British customs port. That's right. Even fucking in the 1738, you still had to go through fucking customs when you're internationally
God
traveling.
damn it.
Like, how fucked up is that?
They patting you down.
Yeah, they patting you down. They're searching the ship. How long do you think this process would take?
17 days.
I'd say a couple weeks.
2 fucking weeks. It takes
All right.
7 to 14 days. You're pretty
Come
close.
on, 17 days.
So
That's not bad.
Imagine getting an international flight and you had to take a layover at customs for 7 to 14 days.
Where am I taking my layover?
Like, God damn.
I get pissed when I get caught up for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Do I get to like stay someplace while I'm going through customs?
Yeah, on the fucking
In the
rat-infested
airport?
ship.
Fuck that. I'm causing a riot.
Typically, if all went well, it could take as little as a week. Enough time for paperwork, inspections, restock the ship for bread and water, and for everyone to get one last breath on solid ground before a 10 to 14 week haul across the Atlantic Ocean.
10 to 14 weeks just
On the
a
ocean?
boat. Yeah.
Yep.
That might seem great, but when you're in one of those like wooden ship
Oh,
fucking
it's
things
not
with like
great.
4 masts, no, and you get a storm coming through, your ship's like boing,
Yeah.
a boing.
This is no Caribbean cruise line.
Yeah, no,
That's
this,
for
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
no, that's not good.
This isn't Disney Cruise Lines?
No, not
No.
at all. And fate, unfortunately for this ship, had other plans. Storms slammed the channel day after day, and every attempt Captain Long took to break through to open water ended the same way, with the Augusta driven back to port. The first failures came in July, and then several more came in August. Weeks just started to vanish, and as they did, their provisions dwindled. And before they knew it, 3 months were gone, and they'd barely made it 175 miles away from Holland.
So
Yeah.
3 months just trying to leave the English Channel, and the weather was so bad they couldn't make it.
They
At
couldn't
what
get out
point
the
do you
channel.
say, yeah, I'm out?
Yeah, right?
And you don't have your own private quarters. You're just all cramped in
Oh,
together.
yeah. Oh, yeah, you are.
Mm.
Yup.
Not
Captain Long, to your point, Chris, was done waiting. And by the second week in September, he decided he was ready to gamble everything and ordered the sails set west towards the open ocean. With only 3,400 nautical miles of ocean separating the Princess Augusta and Philadelphia, he needed to leave today if he wanted to complete this voyage. Their window was closing. It's going to turn out that Long is a very bad gambler because this poor bastard sailed straight into hurricane season. And a goddamn maritime pandemic broke loose on his ship.
I was going to say, late August, that is hurricane season.
Yes,
and
it
It's
is.
the beginning of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yes, it is. For the first 2 weeks in the Atlantic Ocean, the ocean behaved. And maybe that should have been the first red
It's the calm
flag.
before the storm.
Because during week 3, the coughing started. At first a child and then another. Soon the lower deck became a goddamn ward. From what they then called bloody flux, what we'd call today dysentery.
Mm.
Picture it, 340 passengers jammed into a space 25 feet wide and 100 feet long. The cargo hold is also doubling as their home. It's dark, it's damp, and the air does not move. People are already getting seasick, as many have never been on the ocean before, and now they're dysentery sick. And if you don't know what that means bloody diarrhea, fevers, nausea, splitting headaches, and vomiting nonstop on top of the seasickness.
Sean, I've had a lot to drink tonight, and that's not helping.
It's not going to get better. Keep in mind, too, that dysentery spreads through fecal matter, not air, not sweat, literal shit. Hundreds of people using buckets, chamber pots, anything they can, overflowing, sloshing with every single wave, mixing into the water barrels,
This
into
is
their
so
food,
gross.
into everything. There's no sanitation. There's not even any airflow. And I just want you for 1 second, imagine the fucking smell of this area.
No.
Oh my God, this is so bad. Oh, it's so gross.
By the way, thank God for these Ghost Poppy candles here right now, because that description was disgusting and these candles smell amazing.
They are 100% soy based. So if you have not checked them out yet, be sure to head over to Ghost Poppy at ghostpoppy.com and check out their newest lines. And maybe we do a little tease.
We are working with Ghost Poppy on Weirder After Dark,
I think it's
Ghost
beyond
Poppy Light.
potential. I think it's kind of a thing we're doing.
So if you have been enjoying Weirder After Dark and you have not checked out your Ghost Poppy candles, go do that right now. Or if you want to, wait a few more weeks and you can go get our very own branded Weirder After Dark candles. We are currently in the process of designing 3 absolutely wonderful smells. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah. But in the meantime, go to ghostpoppies.com and check out what they currently have online.
Do it.
Do it. And now back to Sean's story.
About shit. So, so how did all of these people get dysentery? Well, how did it happen, right?
You told us shit in a bucket.
Yeah, but like, where did it first start? And when it all comes down to it, they think it happened because of bad drinking water that was loaded into the ship back in Rotterdam. And when you're at sea, your choices for fresh water are what you packed or what falls from the sky. So if those barrels were bad from the start, the rot seeped into everything. The bread, the tea, absolutely every single thing they consumed. However it started, dysentery didn't just visit the Princess Augusta. It moved in and it stayed. By the time the Atlantic was halfway beneath them, around 240 souls were gone, most dying within 10 weeks. Captain George Long was one of them, and 6 of his crewmen followed shortly after. Imagine being on a plane again, Chris, then halfway through your trip, the fucking pilot dies. Like,
I'll fly.
Put me in,
I'm
coach. Yeah. Command ends up falling to first mate Andrew Brooke. And let's just say he's not a good dude, but we're going to get to him in a few minutes. First, let's talk about the absolute second curveball that the ocean gods decided to throw at the princess. The 1738 hurricane season wasn't just rough, it was biblically rough. Historians say that the reason for this is that it marked the start of a new La Nina. Even before the Princess Augusta cleared the channel, 2 hurricanes had ripped through the West Indies, and the ghosts of these hurricanes were spinning and spinning their way across the Atlantic directly towards the Princess Augusta.
Ooh.
That year, entire fleets of ships vanished. They were found bottoms up, often drifting crewless through the ocean fog. Records count up to 50 ships lost just in those 2 storms that ripped through the West Indies.
Damn.
And the Princess Augusta did not escape that weather. She crawled through it. Dysentery below deck and chaos above deck. We don't have a log of exactly what this ship went through, but a ship sailing nearby, I was able to find a couple quotes from their logs. And one read, "We were tormented for more than 10 consecutive weeks by furious storms and contrary winds that threatened to perish us at any moment. We lost the mast of our ship, and our poor captain himself even died." A different boat losing their captain.
Yeah.
Maybe this was a normal fucking routine. I don't know.
I mean,
But
think
holy
about
shit.
that. You've already lost 2/3 of the people on board.
Yeah.
To dysentery. The captain's dead. This new guy's in charge. And then you go into a fucking hurricane.
And your sails are destroyed.
10 weeks of a hurricane.
Like,
Yeah.
what do you do? Like,
Yeah, what do you do?
Jesus.
We haven't even gotten to the scary part of
To
the
the
story.
story,
This is
yeah,
fucking,
no,
this ship is damned.
Voyage.
I love the imagery you both are drawing, but picture it for the remaining passengers who are alive.
Yeah.
Who
Down
are just like
below deck.
down below, and they can't see, and they're just sort of
In the
feeling
pitch
everything.
black, waves slamming
Oh,
against
man.
the hull like cannons, people vaulted from their bed bunks into the bulkheads, passengers clutching each other in the dark, air thick with salt, sweat, sickness. Every new crash sounds like it might be the last one. And up above, you have Andrew Brooke standing at the helm, the kind of man who looks at this dying ship 3 months behind schedule and is probably only thinking about one thing.
Money.
Money, profits.
Yep.
What do I do with this? Every day delayed meant more wages that he owed to his remaining crew. Every day delayed meant more food given to the remaining people still alive. It also means less profit from the West Indies run, more risk that the whole voyage is going to collapse.
Now, this is going to sound super shady, but if you're that dude and you're like, I got to give these people under deck food and I got to feed my crew and I got to pay my crew, maybe I don't give those people under deck the food that they are going to need to survive. I'm going to give my crew just enough to get them through. I'm going to make sure I'm okay.
That's fucked up. But you might have some Andrew Brooke in you.
I'm
maybe you and
just
Andrew,
saying.
maybe you have an Andrew Brooke
And
lineage
then
in you.
maybe you got some like crew members that
Capitalism.
doesn't quite pull their weight.
It's
maybe
worse.
maybe in a storm overnight they fall overboard.
It's worse than anything you're imagining, I promise.
So you have pride and greed
Mhm.
already pushing this boat forward into the storm.
Mhm.
You got 2 of the deadly sins already, brother.
Let's
We're
wait.
gonna get some more.
We're getting to more. So what does Andrew Brooke do? Well, witnesses claim that Brooke locked the stores, 15,000 pounds of bread, and instead of giving out rations, he said he would only sell food and water to the remaining dying passengers. Picture
course.
that now. Starving families begging for water while he tightens his grip on the key. You want to survive?
Pay me.
How fucked up is that? And you also got to think dysentery. They are dehydrated as fuck.
Did he become a senator in the United States afterwards? Because this sounds familiar.
Maybe.
I was thinking maybe a higher rank.
Well, you all are good at math. By late November, 2/3 of the passengers are dead. Early on, they would wrap the bodies in blankets, add weights, and whisper prayers as they slid them off into the ocean. Towards the end, as people are dying and so many people are going over, there's no time and no health and no strength for ceremonies. So now they're just taking naked corpses and throwing them off the ballast into the waters.
That and any of like the material that they had, wouldn't they have used that to like repair
Probably
their
most of it.
sails
Yeah.
and stuff like that so that they could make it the rest of the voyage?
Yep. And as winter clawed across the Atlantic, the Princess Augusta limped on, sails shredded, crew frostbitten, and passengers barely hanging on.
God, it's so sad.
The ocean ahead wasn't blue anymore. It was white, frozen, and endless. And what was waiting for them is what turns this from a tragedy into an absolute haunting. On December 19th, things are bad. Snow squalls are ravaging the ship. The rations are running low, or at least the rations that Brooks is willing to give out. And Brooks decides to just anchor down. They're only 12 miles off the coast of Rhode Island at this point. Land is so close they can literally see the lights from the shores.
What, do you have too many people he had to give food to and had to pay his crew? He just like, I anchor down, I can get rid of some of them?
Yeah, why? Why is he stopping?
The weather has actually pinned them there.
Okay.
It will pin them there for the next 6 days. They don't know if they should stay and wait for their opportunity to try and dock in Rhode Island, or if they should try to continue on towards Philadelphia. But to reach Philadelphia, the ship needs to sail past Long Island, through New York Bight, down into the Delaware Bay, and then up the Delaware River to the port in Philadelphia. And that last stretch between Delaware Bay and Delaware River are shallow and brackish, which means they are extremely prone to freezing. In 1738 is one of the last winters that are part of the mini ice age that occurred during that time period. They decide to continue on to Philadelphia, but only 1 to 2 hours into that decision, the squalls get worse, the wind gets wilder, and they're forced to anchor again. 8 days later, by December 27th, 1738, Brooke decides to make a desperate attempt for shore. He can't see more than 2 to 3 ship lengths in front of him. Then another squall hits, limiting his visibility completely. When it lifts, the cliffs of Block Island fill their world. He shouts at his crew to turn, but it's too late. The Princess Augusta grinds onto the sandbar off Sandy Point. An 8-foot plank rips free from their ship. Freezing seawater starts to pour into the wound. No one is steering now. Everyone is only surviving. And what happens next is where the myth and legend of this story is truly born. And there are 3 different accounts, and none of them agree. One version of the story makes Andrew Brooke the hero, which makes me think this is false.
I agree.
He's got some Boone Island vibes here, right?
I feel like he paid or contributed to this story being told.
This story goes that Brooke rose through the water and then trucks through the snow and black surf to reach Block Island and calls for help. The islanders see the wreck, rush to the beach, and fight their way through the breakers to save what they can. About 105 souls in total, frozen but breathing. But even in this good version of the story, there's a haunting and gut-wrenching detail. One woman apparently refuses to leave the princess. Some say she's delirious from her sickness. Others say she's searching for her child who she lost in all the chaos. Either way, she stays behind. And then the tide rises and the Augustus ends up breaking loose back towards the ocean. And as the Augusta is broken into millions of pieces as it's battered against Block Island's rocks, the survivors in Block Island hear the woman's screams as she is swallowed by the sea and torched alive by a fire that somehow ravaged the wreckage as it disappeared into the ocean.
It's just sad because, like, as much as we sit here and we listen to these stories and we're kind of like, oh, dysentery, and we're like cracking jokes, like, this is actually like a true story, right? Like, this is this, and there very well could have been like this woman who maybe she did lose loved ones on this journey, and she's like, I can't leave here, and that's just like, it's really sad. That's just like a really sad story.
I've done some striper fishing off of Block Island, and there are some pretty impressive rock formations.
Oh, yeah?
And it's great for fishing, but I've got a fish finder, I've got a depth finder, I can see the bottom. I can't imagine that during a storm and not having any equipment to know what's underneath you.
It's
like, absolutely terrifying.
You hit the slightest rock and
it's terrifying
underneath and forget it, and that icy water is going to come rushing through. And that's all it takes is like one little crack.
So version 1 of our story, we have Brooks, the hero, going to the island, getting help. The island islanders come out. They save all but one individual who then unfortunately dies.
Brooke for president.
Yeah, I don't buy the whole he was the hero. He seemed like a dirtbag.
Yeah, agreed. I don't buy that either. Then there's an even darker tale. This one says the islanders weren't rescuers, they were wreckers. From the cliffs, they hung lanterns in the snow, luring the ship towards what looked like safety. Brooks saw the lights and turned his vessel toward them, straight onto the sandbar. When the hull struck, the Block Islanders came, but not to help. They stripped the Princess Augusta bare, food, clothes, coin, even the fillings from the dead. Some people say they murdered those who resisted, and then they torched the ship to hide the evidence, flames lighting up in the middle of the storm.
That sounds familiar from a story we did recently.
Very recent. I was on the same flashbacks.
Yeah, Harry Maine.
Yeah.
I don't know. That just seems so extreme. It almost seems like way too extreme. Like the people who may have survived are like telling like this horrific story.
I'll say the one thing that might add some credibility to that story is Block Island is an own unique island. So the people who are living on the island in December, they are buckled down and for the whole entire winter. They're not getting off that island. They have limited food, limited water themselves.
But do you
so
think
maybe they could see an opportunity to, hey, this could provide rations
this
and wealth.
Done.
Yes.
We're going to take
we're going to go take whatever we want.
Take whatever we can from them and then just screw them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess
America.
Yeah, I guess
it was a different time in the 1700s.
It was very different time.
Maybe not. It's very familiar, actually.
It seems like you have like the version where the captain's like the hero and I do everything great. To all of a sudden you have like these like people who are from these islands and they come in and they're like horrible people and they do like all these really bad things. Like it's like you have like one extreme to like the other. Like, is there a story that lands somewhere in the middle?
Well, there is a third account.
Okay.
And this is the official one that's on record.
Okay.
2 months after the wreck, a letter appeared in the Boston Gazette. It came from the community of Block Islanders led by Simon Ray and allegedly had back testimony from several survivors of the Princess Augusta. According to them, late on December 27th, Captain Brooke came ashore seeking help. He met Simon Ray trudging through the snow-covered dunes, and together they returned to the stranded ship. Ray believed the tide would ultimately lift the Augusta free if they unloaded her cargo. Brooke disagreed and refused to help move the passengers or their belongings.
Of course Brooke did.
Of course he did. Yeah. See, this is making sense to me. This is making sense to me. Someone who's very familiar with the geographical area is like, you need to lighten your ship's load. And he's like, I'm not giving you all my wealth and belongings and people that have value. Like, fuck you.
Yeah. And after this conversation, instead of helping his passengers, he spent those precious hours unloading his own chests and those of his sailors.
I told you there was a story in the middle. This makes sense.
So the islanders decided to act without him. They hauled most of the Palatines ashore themselves, a brutal job in waist-deep surf and freezing winds. To add insult to injury, the Princess Augusta had 15,000 pounds of bread in its stores, and Brooke refused to open it to provide food to the frozen and traumatized passengers. The Block Island residents did what they could, but they were on an island in December and only had their own personal food stores, and that was extremely limited. But even they chose compassion and opened up their stores to help feed and warm these people.
I believe this story.
I like that story. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Brooke for president.
I believe
Brooke
this.
for president.
And you know what? You know why I believe this story is because when we lived in Florida and we had a hurricane come ripping through, in the calm of the storm, would go out into the neighborhood that we were staying at our friend's house, and we would look and be like, oh, you've got a hole in your roof. Everybody joined together and put up tarps. We contributed. I have water here. It just makes me think that like this story has more credibility to like the spirit of humanity.
Well, it gets worse. Later that night.
Come on, man. I'm trying to find some silver lining here.
Later that night, with nearly everyone off the ship, Brooke, back on the ship, decided to raise anchor. Just as Ray predicted, the tide lifted the Augusta off the sandbar. Brooke drifted into the bay, still holding all of the passengers' goods and all of their money. Furious, the islanders rowed out and reclaimed what they could. 2 days later, on December 29th, another storm slammed into the coast and smashed the Princess Augusta to pieces. The last of the cargo sank with her. In this telling, about 105 Palatines survived long enough to reach Block Island. But within the next couple days, 15 more died, leaving only 90 survivors. So depending on who you ask, the islanders were either angels or devils holding lanterns. And somewhere between the mercy and the murder and the legend, the tale of the Palatine Light was officially born. Now, there's not a ton of evidence when all this is coming from stories from the 1700s, but one thing we know for sure is something happened because there's proof. There's actually a stone on the north side of the island, and etched into it says Palatine Graves 1738. It's there that supposedly the bodies that died, the 15 of them, were buried. And honestly, this probably should be the end of the story, but this is where our ghost ship stories begin. Exactly 1 year after the wreck, a British captain passing through Block Island Sound reported seeing a ship ablaze on the horizon. His crew followed the burning vessel to her watery grave and found no survivors and no wreckage. Whether that log ever truly existed or was an embellishment, islanders swore it marked the birth of the Palatine Lights. From that winter forward, mariners spoke of a phantom fire drifting through the fog every December, sometimes bright as day, sometimes faint as ember on the waves. Dr. Aaron Willey, the island's physician, wrote it down in 1811. Setting his pen aside, he saw a pyramid of fire standing on the sea, broad at the base, tapering like a candle drawn thin by wind, for 15 full minutes, and then it folded into the dark. Joseph Northrup crests a hill overlooking Block Island in 1878 and freezes at what he sees. A ship on fire slides east, a lantern the size of a town. He watches it for 20 minutes. It doesn't smoke. He sees nothing other than the flames, and then it vanishes. Matilda Rose turns because her cottage windows are full of bonfire. Outside, she sees sails set, the ocean glass smooth, and a ship entirely aflame, and somehow it's not actually burning. She says her and 50 other islanders sat and watched it together. By morning, the southeast winds start to rip apart the island as a storm moves in. Eric Montgomery, 1885, holds a newspaper up to the night and reads by ocean light. He calls the blaze whitish, shaped like a pyramid, the size of a tall ship under the sail. He watches it again for 15 minutes. Enough time to gather at the window, not enough time to launch a boat and go look for himself. 15 minutes later, a storm hits. Warren Ball, 1912. A blizzard erases the world. He spots a 3-masted fire off Block Island's southeast coast. Warren Ball reports the burning boat to 2 Coast Guard ships, and they come from the mainland to investigate. When they reach the coordinates, there's no survivors, there's no splinters, there's no sailcloth, there's nothing. They searched till dawn, never turning up any evidence. Stories like this turn up again in 1920, 1933, 1958, and again in 1963. Always the same story, a burning ship, no wreckage, no survivors. But the one in 1963 gets a little bit more interesting. An airplane radios in a burning vessel a mile southeast of Block Island. 2 Coast Guard ships, a helicopter, 2 Navy planes ultimately are dispatched. Pilots circle the coordinates, the water perfectly clean. Nothing ever seen, nothing ever found. And then, if all these aren't interesting enough, the Palatine Lights also make it in literature. One of New England's most influential 19th century poets, John Greenleaf Whittier, never saw the light, but he did meet a man who believed that he could talk to ghosts. And through his communications with these beings, during a seance, they told him that the ship was lured by Block Islanders, and the Islanders were actually wreckers, and they lured the ship ashore and then burned away the evidence.
That would bring you back to the question of whether they were rescuers or wreckers.
Exactly.
And this is through a medium written through a poet, John Greenleaf. So I get back up for a minute. These sightings are always in December?
Most of them happen in December.
Most of them in December, yep. And most of them before or during a storm. Ooh,
typically, a storm is happening right around the time it's happening.
That was going to be my question, that, like, because you said on, like, a couple of them, like, they had the sighting, and then, like, a day or two later, there was, like, a storm that came through.
Usually within minutes, a storm rips through.
And when did the psychic...
That was in the 1800s.
In the 1800s?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I thought you said 1960s.
1963 was the Coast Guard sighting with the airplanes and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
And so that's an airplane sighting a ship on fire, nothing to do with the legend or lore, and Coast Guard takes it serious enough to dispatch boats and find absolutely nothing.
So it's just like an airplane flying over, and it's like, hey, there's a ship on fire. And it dispatches all Coast Guard. They go out and there's nothing
This is sounding a lot like Costco Bay, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting shit happening. Whittier turned the accusation of the Block Islanders into scripture and ended up writing it into a poem. I want to read just a small piece of it to you. It goes, "No low and dim, now clear and higher, leaps up the terrible ghost of fire. And the wise sound skippers through skies be fine, reef their sails when they see the sign of the blazing wreck of Palatine. Here, inside of Whittier's poem, this is how the legend really of the Palatine Lights came to be. But also the idea and likely the story of the wreckers probably came from this. And this is how it's caught on to this day. It's all from this one poem.
This is interesting because Whittier's behind a lot of this. He wrote a poem about Goody Cole, the witch from New Hampshire. He also wrote a poem about the darkest day, which we did a story on.
Yeah.
So Whittier's makes his rounds.
He's
and
kind
every
of...
time he's like Ed Warren of the
I remember that.
1800s.
I was going to say he's kind of like the Weirder After Dark podcast of the 1800s.
Yes.
He's just going around writing poems.
He's kind of our guy.
Yeah.
We do podcasts, he did poems.
Oh, man. So from this poem is the first reference called the Palatine Lights. Again, the people who died coming from Palatine, Germany, or that region in Germany. And that's where the name gets. It sticks. And to this day, it's called the Palatine Lights. So at the end of the day, what are they? Well, there's a number of different theories for them. Some people claim that it's bioluminescent plankton flashing when tides collide.
No, Sean, it's ghosts.
Yep. Some say the moon, it's a star, it's a reflection of light from a passing ship.
But it always happens in December.
And it's a ghost.
It's a ghost.
Some claim it's marsh gas at the seam of sea and salt. And for the record, I did Google it and try to look into it. Block Island does have a ton of marshes on it, apparently. So maybe. Some think it's St. Elmo's fire.
The movie? Hey, you can't say St. Elmo's fire and not make me think that it's a movie.
Do you know what St. Elmo's fire is, though?
It's a biblical reference, right?
It is a biblical reference, but that's where the name comes from. But it's actually a natural phenomena that does occur. I had to Google it, and this is what it says: is St. Elmo's fire is a weather-related electrical phenomena where a blue or violet glow appears around tall, pointed objects like a ship's mast, church steeple, or airplane wing during intense storms.
Oh, interesting.
Storms do seem to appear frequently after sightings of St. Elmo's fire. And Chris, your hero, Christopher Columbus, wrote about seeing St. Elmo's fire in his journal.
Yes. Christopher Columbus was not a hero. He's a mass murderer.
He's an Italian hero.
Get a bad rap. God. You guys have been putting Italians down this entire podcast. No. I'm just saying.
Listeners, if anybody's been putting anybody down, it's Chris and his Italian heritage putting Sean and I's Irish heritage down.
The mob is a lie that you guys told to put hardworking Italian businessmen out of business. And Christopher Columbus was a saint. The end.
Regardless of how you feel about Italians or Christopher Columbus.
Oh my God.
In Christopher Columbus's journal, he does write about seeing St. Elmo's fire and not knowing what it is. And he describes it as a small flame like a candlelight upon the topmast. For the record, this story is what it is. It's about a grounded ship that disappears forever into the deep seas of the ocean. It's a story about disease and sickness ravaging people looking for nothing more than freedom. It's about fire and survivors ultimately landing inside of a new home, but they're weak and many still dying after getting to where they land. Whatever you believe about this story, whether it is ghosts, whether it is luminescent light, whether it is St. Elmo's fire, December is only a few months away. So if you find yourself in Rhode Island, keep your eyes on the water and let us know if you see some bright flames flickering in the ocean.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah, that is so good.
Oh, man. It just the actual story up until where the legend hit is so horrific and terrifying.
It is.
It makes the legend part, like, that's why I love stories that are based in historical fact.
Yeah.
Because even when you kind of veer off into the legend and the lore, because there is that layer of truth, and we don't really know what happened. Nobody knows what happened, but that's what makes it so good. You gotta kind of think like, what do you think your truth is of that story? And me personally, I think like whatever you think the truth is, I think that tells you a little bit about like who you are as a person. I know it gets a little deep, but I think like if you sit there and you're like, this is true or that's true, like it gives a little bit of a reflection on like who you are.
It's a mirror to my soul.
Maybe.
Don't get too deep. I can't keep up. Don't get too deep.
I'm drowning.
Well, what do you think then, Kathy and Chris? How did the story end?
I like the phenomenon of the St. Elmo's fire.
Ooh, okay.
That's an interesting take on it, especially right before a storm, and these things are happening during storms. But they were describing a blue purplish hue around a triangle. These people were literally reading by fire.
Yeah.
And there's way too many accounts for it to be misunderstood. Nobody in the account said, I saw a blue-purple hue. They saw a ship on fire. I'm leaning into the paranormal here. I'm leaning into all the tragedy. I'm leaning into the difficulty of the feelings on that boat. And I'm thinking that this is manifesting over and over again every December.
All right. I have a question here. So like if they're sitting there and they're reading by candlelight and you're in a really dark room, I know sometimes when I look at my light and I look away, I have like an image that's sort of imprinted,
sure.
Right? If you're sitting there in this little house on an island and it's all dark and you're reading by candlelight and all of a sudden you look at your candle completely surrounded by darkness and then you look out into the ocean. Could that have that same impact on the way your eyes are seeing and your brain is seeing the light and it's kind of giving like that like image?
Absolutely, but not for 15 minutes like several of the accounts recalled. 15 minutes of seeing this ship on fire.
I agree with that. I'm always looking for like the debunk, right? I'm always looking for that. But the fact that it always happens around December, the fact that it's happening for a long period of time. I like to think that there is sort of the paranormal aspect of it that's sort of a pre-warning to something bad is going to happen, and you can either take the warning and change so you don't become Andrew Brooke or become the victims of the people that he held hostage.
Sean, you researched and wrote this story. What's your theory on this whole thing?
I honestly don't know, man, because like I'm with you, Chris, I think on this one where like I can't think of any bioluminescence isn't explaining this. Yeah. Like St. Elmo's fire I think is interesting. Maybe could explain some of the sightings, especially the ones where the storms come in. But then there are some it doesn't explain, right? Their rooms lit up when they're sitting in their room and they were distracted by it. Like I don't know how to explain that stuff.
What if it was like heat lightning?
Yeah, like could it be lightning?
Not for 15 minutes, though.
Yeah. You're still for 15 minutes thinking you're seeing a burning ship versus lightning. Like, it just doesn't add up.
The burning ship thing, that's what makes me think of like they're looking at a flame and like sort of like somehow is distorting, but it's over a long period of time.
And the only other explanation other than they're actually seeing something paranormal is Greenleaf wrote this famous poem. Mm-hmm. The newspaper picked it up and people wanted to be involved in the story one way or another. So they started to tell stories, but that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot
of people jumping on board to be a part of this legend.
Agree. And I also think one of the more logical answers could be like, could there be a boat with lanterns off into the distance that people are seeing move across and they're mistaking that inside that moment for some type of
But even in the 60s?
Fire? Sure, why not, right? You have lanterns on boats maybe and you're seeing it across the ocean.
In the 60s, you'd have they had electricity in the 1960s.
Well, I'm talking about like the 1800s electricity, then there could be lights. But these are people living on an island. They are hardened people. They are used to seeing ships.
Yes.
To me, it's just like, that's not a logical explanation either. So I'm left with, I have no fucking idea how to explain this based off the sightings. So paranormal, you already know that for me, ghosts are a stretch. And now you're telling me a boat can manifest as a ghost? Like, I don't know. It's just like now physical objects are manifesting. I don't know. I don't know if I can believe
Chris wrote a story on ghost ships.
Yeah, the Dash schooner.
And if you remember, I've been like, I don't think boats can manifest. Like, I just don't know. I don't know.
I don't remember what my stance was on that story.
Yeah.
If you take it in totality, you take the Dash schooner and you take your story, the Palatine Lights. Very similar. Lots and lots of witnesses over the years, including the U.S. Navy in my story and the U.S. Coast Guard in your story, going and checking out these ghost ships, and then they completely disappear.
Came on radar, too.
Came on radar for the U.S. Navy.
Yeah.
And the more I lean into this, the more research we do into this, the more I can't debunk it. The more it's not just some drunk fisherman telling tales.
Yeah. Well, gang, Kathy, Chris, I hope you enjoyed this story.
I did.
And I might have enjoyed it too much.
Oh, I love that. Love that. And if you did, we are out there building communities right now. You can visit us over on our Instagram, where I'll be sure to go ahead and post some supporting images of Block Island. There's actually some images of people claiming there are things that look like the Palatine Lights.
Do you want pictures of the stripers I caught off of Block Island?
We'll throw them on there.
We'll throw those on there.
Yeah. The gang needs to see them.
I think so,
the gang needs to see them. But we are also not just on Instagram. We can also be found over on Reddit as well as Facebook. And again, that is @WaiterAfterDark. Go there and you can talk to not just Kathy, Chris, and myself, but other people who are enjoying these episodes just like you. And we are always out there looking for your weird New England stories. So, have you ever seen the Palatine Lights? Have you ever gotten dysentery and shit blood? If you have, go ahead and send those stories to us. Wait, what? You don't want those stories?
You don't want those stories.
Oh, my bad. Send your weird
Palatine Lights, yes.
Palatine Light, yeah. Those are the stories we want.
My bad. Send your weird New England stories about ghosts, about aliens, haunted ships, serial killers, any of that stuff.
No dysentery.
The gang at weirderafterdark.com. And don't forget, if you are liking this shit, if you are absolutely loving this shit, the best thing that you can do is go ahead wherever you're listening. Leave us a 5.
Dysentery over this shit.
Oh my God. This is so bad.
Leave us a 5-star review wherever you are listening. And it would absolutely mean the world to us. And don't forget, it always gets a little weirder after dark.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.